Pinehurst is the home of American golf, and while people come here to play golf, there are plenty of businesses here that call Pinehurst home. We'll talk to one of those business owners next on Paradise in the Pines. Welcome to Paradise in the Pines, a podcast about the people, places, and stories that make this the home of American golf. Brought to you by the Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. And welcome to Paradise in the Pines. In this episode, we have Dr. Savannah Gardner. Dr. Savannah Gardner, you just moved here from Pinehurst not too long ago. Welcome to Paradise in the Pines.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's truly an honor. Again, being kind of new here and then being able to communicate with y'all and share what I do and what I love. I'm truly honored to sit here and be a part of it. I
think you're the first doctor we've ever had on the show, so congratulations for that.
Well, thank you. I'm just a chiropractor, so
you are just a chiropractor.
Some people joke it's a doctor with an E, but it's fine.
So what brought you to Pinehurst?
So my husband's actually military, so that was the initial thing that brought us here. However, we grew up around the game of golf, being from Jupiter, Florida. So obviously when you're in the military, you can kind of pick your favorite places. Right. But when Pinehurst, really, obviously Fort Bragg became an option, that was definitely number one on my husband's list. Yeah. I had actually never visited here. So when he did end up getting the job here and securing that, we came up for a weekend and we just drove around. And I truly fell in love with the place. I'll be honest, I was a little overwhelmed by the amount of pine trees.
Right. You don't see too many of those down in Jupiter, Florida.
No, but we do have a lot of palm trees. So it was a nice little transition. And I shared with you earlier, when we moved here, it really does feel like where I grew up, that small town, that really humbling area where there's a lot of people that come from a lot of different places, but everything feels like home. I found that here. Just the only thing we're missing is the beach. So we love it here. We're so honored to be here, and really has been such a really cool journey to develop a business and be a part of the community and not just be in it, So really, really happy to be here and just loving what we're doing in this community, how it's growing. I'm excited to see where it is. Not only, when I first moved here, I've seen so much change in the past 2 years, but I'm excited to see where we're at in 10 and excited to be a part of it.
And you were here for the U.S. Open. So what a great way to kind of get introduced to the destination with such an international event. What were your impressions? Is that the first time you've been to U.S. Open? Obviously the first one at Pinehurst.
That was my first U.S. Open. Granted, I've been to quite a few events. Honestly, my husband and I's first date was actually the Honda Classic, which was this past weekend. What is it? The Cognizant Classic now? Yeah. So I've been privileged to be at a lot of tournaments, but this U.S. Open was truly special. We walked away from it the night after Bryson took it away, and we all just kind of looked at each other and were like, did that really happen? Yeah. And I joked, I'm like, bury me in Pinehurst. This was just so cool. The golden hour, we were walking out of the big gates and we couldn't really believe that it happened. And it took us probably a few weeks to really feel that and really know that it did.
Yeah, and you talk about Bryson and how he won it with that shot out of the bunker. And I think the resort was really concerned when he did that, because they're going to have so many people come here try that, hit that shot and break windows at the Deuce and hit balls into the roof of the clubhouse. But they had a USJ event here. They had their annual event here, and they had an event out at that hole where people tried to hit that shot, and a gentleman with the golf organization in New York State actually hold it out. Yeah. So, what a story to tell.
Well, and then Wagner that night on the Golf Channel, he nailed it. I was shocked by that. We were all kind of nervous watching him, and we're like, he did it.
he was more excited than Bryson, or Bryson was more excited than Johnson.
You would have thought he just won the U.S. Open again.
and actually, the day after that, we were fortunate enough to play Pinehurst number 2 after the U.S. Open, and Johnson was behind us with Tom Pastor, the president of the resort, and Eric Houston, one of their vice presidents. Johnson from the tip shot 72.
What?
It's like, man, why didn't you qualify for the U.S. Open?
Wow.
So, but it was a real treat. And as you mentioned, it's a special event. We're so glad the USJ is here. You're here at a perfect time.
Yeah.
Your company is called the Movement Foundry.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that, how you discovered that, why the name, and what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a sports chiropractor. I'm also a prenatal chiropractor and a pediatric chiropractor. Basically, I just don't say no.
Right. You just cover life. Anybody who's alive.
I joke, I see womb to tomb, but it's true. Like in any given day, I might have a 1-week-old baby, and then the next appointment might be a 60-year-old golfer who's trying to get back in the game, feel a little bit more loose, try to get a little bit more distance in their drive. And then I might have a mom, and then later on I might have a professional weightlifter. So I truly have such a special job, and that's kind of all these different experiences in my life have led me to where I am now. And what's so neat about this area is that I'm able to serve all the people that led me here. Growing up, I had a spinal injury when I was in high school. I was a tumbler, baton twirler really, which was also really an interesting thing. It led me to be a college athlete, which has led me to want to work with high performance individuals. But I had a spinal injury, I had spinal surgery when I was 17, and originally had no idea that chiropractic really existed.
Yeah.
I went on to play and perform at the University of Alabama as a majorette. So during that time, I had some injuries. My athletic trainer was sick of me coming in and complaining about back pain. She's like, go to the chiropractor. And I was terrified, honestly. And so when my patients come in, and they're like, this is my first chiropractic visit, and I'm nervous. I'm like, well, first of all, thank you for sharing. But that was my same experience. And I want you to know that you're going to walk out of here and feel empowered. So when I initially went, my surgeon back when I was 17 told me never go to one. They'll break your back or whatever. Yeah. And so I was terrified. I was shaking and crying in the waiting room. And I left shaking and crying because it was the first time I had been out of pain since my surgery. And so that led me into the profession. But being here, when I was in chiropractic school, I got introduced to family care. So I learned a lot about pediatrics and prenatal. I got my certifications there. And then when I was in Georgia, my husband being military, we were at Fort Benning, and I served a lot of families there. Okay. And then I was introduced to more sports just because, our military personnel there truly professional athletes. And so that led me to level up my care. And then when we found out we were moving here, my husband was like, you already love golf. We grew up in the industry. Why don't you go ahead and just go all in? We need more performance care here in this area. He already had done the research and knew that. And so I went out to the Titleist Performance Institute, if I'm speaking honestly, more for me, because I wanted to be able to play and not have pain. And so I worked with Dr. Greg Rose out there, and who's really become a mentor of mine now. And I've done a lot of their certification processes, and it was really, like I said, to get me out of pain and be able to play, but being able to dive into that, I wanted to bring that level of care here.
Sure.
And that's what I'm working on. So originally my practice was called the Family & Co. Chiropractic. Realized very quickly that golfers didn't want to have family on their bag or, on their shirts. So we recently rebranded with a local business, Second Pine Design, to the Movement Foundry. And I think it really encompasses what we do. We workshop people's movement. We help them to create solid foundations. So kind of that play on foundry, that metalworking.
Yeah.
And if you look at a anvil that we mold metal on, it's kind of like our chiropractic table. So that it really came to light when Bonnie helped me with that. But that's what we developed, and we've been able to stand behind it now. And I'm really proud of the care that we offer. We're not your typical chiropractor. It's a boutique style practice where we provide one-on-one care. And I joke it's for families and athletes because, like I said, I can see any age, and it's specialized care. So I'm really proud of what we're building. It's new. I'm excited to see where it goes and how we can better serve the area. But that's truly been my focus, is how can I serve others, and what does that look like, and how do I need to go get my training to help support that? Because we really do have a diverse community with high performing individuals and their families. And then hopefully we're developing even more of the performance side for golf.
And speaking about golf, because we're the home of American golf, how much of your clientele are golfers?
Gosh, when I first started, it wasn't. But I'd say in the past few months, even, it's really increased, especially moving into our new space and bringing in a TrackMan. We're working on installing some force plates. So gosh, I'd say probably like 30-40% now. And I feel as if that's growing. Yeah. I recently hired another chiropractor, and she's been really doing a wonderful job seeing my everyday patients. And she's really found a passion for prenatal and pediatrics. So allowing her to thrive there and grow there and mentor her there so that I can bring on more with the golf industry. Yeah. So excited to see that transition. But yeah, I'd say it's slowly growing, and excited to see how that grows, really, to say.
You talked about TPI, Titleist Performance Institute.
Yes, sir.
Describe to people what that is, because I think people that are in the golf industry or have been in it, as myself, we understand what that is, what that means. But talk about how it relates to the golf industry and performance.
Yeah, so TPI, it's Titleist Performance Institute, and it's something people throw around a lot.
You hear it a lot on Golf Channel. Your players talk about it, and it's like, what is that?
So what is it, right? Yeah. Well, they do have online courses, and that's kind of your first step in, and it's truly, their level 1 courses, like learning the body swing connection. So how can a medical provider, a golfer, like a golf instructor, and then a fitness professional work together to understand how a player moves and be able to communicate with one another? So I feel like it's kind of a language course, that first level. Yeah. And it's an intro. So if people are wanting to learn more about how they can help golfers, from a movement perspective, they'll start there. One thing about me is if I do something, I'm going to go all in. So they have a level 2 and a level 3 course, and their level 3 course is their pinnacle, probably like their capstone course when it comes to whatever that topic is. So I've been privileged to sit in for the medical one, and then obviously, being a provider. And then 2, I've been able to go out to their power one, which is really working on developing performance and distance and speed and power. So really what it is Dr. Greg Rose, he's a co-founder, and then Dave Phillips, a golf instructor. They've done a ton of research. They are the premier place when it comes to the amount of research. They've looked at more golfers than anyone else, and they've looked at the best players in the world. So it's really what it is a really great database for research. And then from there, they've been able to innovate and create processes and create systems so that we can all work together, because the golf industry is growing fast. Yeah. These players, any minuscule change they can do to their performance is really elevating their game. So we have to stay in the know. And so that's really what they're about, is providing a space for us to learn. And I've been talking with golf instructors. Sometimes there's this TPI this, TPI that. And as a medical professional, there's no other program that allows me to be able to understand what a golf instructor is trying to tell me, and me be able to take my knowledge and understand from a biomechanical perspective how that goes into performance. So
absolutely, yeah.
It truly was the best place for me to start. And I think it's only going to continue to grow. I recently went out there and saw their development. I think they're doing like a $26 million revamp of the Titleist Performance Institute. It includes a 9-hole course, a putting studio, I think multiple bays for hitting. They also do baseball. There's a huge part of the MLB that they work in. And they have this new art, they call it the Bark. And it's a facility where they can have a pitcher on the mound and someone at bat, and they can track the pitcher's mechanics, the speed, all the data they could possibly want at the same time as the hitter. So there's a lot that they're doing in the research part of things. And that, as a medical provider is where I'm excited, because science is always changing. The game is always changing. That's where we need to go.
And it's about performance. I mean, right. I remember back when I was a kid, if a pitcher threw 93 miles an hour, it's like, oh my God. Now you got guys throwing 100, 103 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's about performance, about the physiology, how the body functions with movement. How much have you seen that come along just in the time that you've been involved with chiropractic and to this point where, I don't even think we've really scratched the surface. I think there's still a long way to go. What do you think?
We have so much to learn, and it sounds like any physician probably, but from a research standpoint, even at the PGA show just a few weeks ago, they were doing a demonstration at Smart to Move, which is the force plate company that I ended up going with. But they were talking about short game and what happens with the center of mass. So like if you were to swallow a sensor and it go to the middle of your body, what is the middle of your body doing during a wedge shot, just chipping around the green? Mm-hmm. And they, what would you think would happen? Do you think the body goes down and then up and then up, up and then down?
When I taught, it was always keep the legs very still.
Yeah.
It's just a rotation, just a upper body movement, and almost like a putting motion.
Right.
So I would think it would say relatively stationary.
Yeah. So most people say that, or they'll say you hit down on the ball, right? What they found is with the best players in the world, they start up and they only move up. So I'm nerding out. I'm excited about this, but really it's new research, and it's coming in the industry just to know what's happening from a biomechanical standpoint. That allows for effective coaching and training and treatment. So it's constantly changing. If you asked TPI, I bet Dr. Rose would say something about eyesight. I sat in at one of the lectures during the TPI summit back, and I believe in either October or November, but one of the eyesight neuroscientists from around the world, they were talking to us, and I could just look over and see all of those that are involved with TPI just smiling ear to ear, excited about where we're going there, because we are just scratching the surface, and eyesight plays a huge role into the game, and we don't even truly understand how much yet.
Interesting how you integrate chiropractic with the golf game, obviously. And you mentioned TrackMan. I think a lot of people watch Golf Channel might see Scotty Scheffler on the range, and they see the TrackMan. They all use them now. I mean, they got the handheld ones, and even the indoor facilities here, Double Eagle and the ones that, Top Tracer, they use TrackMan technology, so you can see ball flight, spin rate, things like that. Talk about the foot plates. I think some people don't understand. I think this is probably about the transition of the swing for the way 60% of this side, getting to this part of your body movement. Talk about how that integrates in your business with TrackMan and the force plates.
Yeah. So a lot of what we do from an assessment standpoint, we're trying to understand what an athlete does, why they do it, and how. And before, we've been really good at the what and the why, but recently with force plates, we're able to see how the player moves, because we could see, and they have those robots you can grab onto the club and like match Rory's swing. Yeah. But what these force plates do is they allow you to feel what that feels like, because you and I swinging the same thing, we might not produce forces the same way. So what these force plates do is they allow us for data collection, but we can also put them in live mode and make changes so that the player can actually feel how they're supposed to feel when we're trying to make a shift in the way that they develop power. So they're really powerful tools. I think we're scratching the surface with them. I think if I could make a prediction, you're going to hear people talk about it a lot more. I know that there's been a lot of pressure talk, like how we move with our feet, but this really tells us how our body is generating power. Yeah. And I think it's a really easy way for people to not only feel the change they need, but also if they're visual learners, to see what their forces are doing. But I think that's where the industry is headed, is understanding forces a little bit more, getting really into the physics side of it.
And your feet and but your feet are the only thing that touch the ground, obviously, and your grip is the only thing that touches the golf club. So,
right.
And you hear about Rory, and some of these guys are fairly small.
Yeah.
And they might be my height, 5'10". Some are shorter that you're like, how does this guy hit it 300 yards?
Right.
It's all about technique, leverage, using those forces to be able to generate that power. I can't remember the name of the device we had at the Golf Club of Georgia, but basically you could put your hands, it would actually move you as you can put in Rory or Dustin Johnson. You would feel, it's like, man, that's nothing like I swing.
Right.
And you're like, it gives you that feel. So you obviously, it's that repetition.
Right.
And getting into that mode of like, okay, this is how I generate these forces. So it's just amazing how the technology is moving forward.
Right.
Talk about some of the other people you work with in Pinehurst. That I know when I taught, it was always swing your swing.
Yeah.
But everybody has different things. They might have back issues, neck
Right.
issues. They might have different things. How do you adapt them? So you want to teach them and help them improve, but also you have to understand their physiology and what
Right.
limitations they may have.
Right. Well, let's set the story straight first. Like, I'm not a golf instructor. When people come in, I'm not necessarily giving lessons. Mm-hmm. What I'm doing is providing a resource to the area. So my dream day, it would be like an intensive where a player comes in with their coach, they come in with their fitness instructor or their trainer, their agent, whoever it may be, and we can all diagnostically work together and then sit at a war room and kind of program the rest of their year based on their injury or what their goals are, if they're trying to increase their performance or come back from something. So when it comes to that, that's what we're trying to do. I've worked with a lot of different local businesses to help grow where I'm at. I mean, you talked about Double Eagle earlier. They were so kind to me in my first few months. Yeah. It was a great partnership and it still is, because I can go in there and do assessments there and we can host events. And that's a really great way to get people into the game, because it's a social environment too. Right. And that's a fun part of golf that we don't talk about enough.
Well, golf and drinking go hand in hand,
yeah,
right?
They sure do, apparently. But yeah, when it comes to developing movements that are safe for people, that's really what my part is. So if someone does have a history of an injury, someone like me, I have a spinal injury, I have a spinal fusion, my back's not going to move a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many respectfully coaches have told me, hey, try this, do this with your grip or whatever, or change your foot or do this. And I literally can't get there. So that's my job, is to find a way to get a player there. I actually got referred, a player from Joe Stedman over at CCNC a few weeks ago. Yeah. I guess it was a few months ago at this point. But, he was just trying to get this player into this one move that he diagnostically from an instructor's standpoint knew about, but he wanted to know if the player could actually get there. I'm like, yeah, sure. Give me a few visits. Let me make sure that this is a safe decision. But then we did. And all it took was just a little bit of motor retraining. Yep. Obviously, we had some joints we needed to move around a little bit, dust off the spine a little, but we got there and it was in a way that didn't hurt the player. They got more performance, they got more distance, so it's really working together. It's about being a resource rather than just having it all in one place. But bringing on Smart to Move, bringing on TrackMan, I wanted to be able to travel. So that's a goal of mine as well, is to be able to take my performance and be on the road and be able to work together and collaborate, because that's my favorite thing to do.
So to learn more, is the movementfoundry.com?
Yes, sir. The Movement Foundry.
Sir.
Sorry, I'm from. That's my southern
you're from
coming
the South.
out.
That's right. I want to kind of not so much close that chapter, but there's so many different things that you're involved in. I want to talk about something else, and that is the Better Back 9 program. I didn't know anything about that until I did some research for this podcast, and it's truly inspirational. Reminds me a lot of what Josh Payton is doing with Veteran Golf Association to a certain extent. But again, this is a huge military area with Fort Bragg, and glad it's Fort Bragg. It's always been Fort Bragg. So talk about Better Back 9 and how that serves the military community and the special ops guys that are transitioning and love golf.
It's been, I'll probably get a little emotional about it. It's been truly an incredible experience to be a part of this foundation. They are a newer foundation. They're a locally owned. Jason Mitchell and Guy Mosley. Guy Mosley is a caddy over at Dormy, and Jason both of them worked together or in their own capacities in the special operations community. And they unfortunately lost one of their friends due to the mental illness that they suffered from their injuries. And one thing about our veterans, we often think about our World War II veterans. We think about our older generation. But if you look around, our veterans are the same age as us, and they've been through so many things. And maybe we can't see their physical ailments, but they also carry around the stressors of their job. So when they lost their friend tragically, I think that inspired them to create a way to work together and create a community and create camaraderie. And what other better way to do it than through the game of golf? And so Guy being a caddy and being an awesome player himself, and then Jason being newer to the sport and seeing the I'm trying to think of a way to describe it, but the therapeutic effect of being able to be out on the golf course and being able to be in a team room again, they decided to create the Better Back 9 Foundation. And so what they do is they provide premium golf experiences for soft combat veterans of post 9/11, and they provide them truly what that is. So instead of it just being like a discounted rate or a one-day event, they do a week-long experience. That's their flagship experience. They do it here. I've been able to be a part of it from the beginning. But they host these guys in a beautiful home here. They hire an in-home chef. They get them fit for clubs. We do instructions. I do assessments on them. I can't say their names out of the protection for them, but I've worked with some really incredible veterans that have been through a lot. The injuries they've sustained. Honestly, sitting there listening to them, it makes me have to get very creative, but I'm also amazed. One of them had their pelvis shattered, and I would have never known watching him move because he is an athlete and he's been able to recover from it and move around it. But learning about their injuries and how we can get them into the game of golf has been really humbling. And like I said, I have to get creative. It makes me work hard, but we provide instruction, we provide assessments. I work on them throughout the week. There's also massage therapy that they provide. They're just trying to give them a week off, a mental break. But truly my favorite part about it during those week-long events is that I get to learn about their families and their friends and their passions. And I call it table talk because I get to work with them for about 30, 45 minutes in the evening after they've played to help them feel like they haven't. That's what we do with professional players. Their goal when they come into the tour trucks is to feel like they haven't just played 18. So I'm trying to provide that for them as they get to play different courses like Tobacco Road or Forest Creek. So
I noticed Tobacco Road in the video on the Better Back 9 website. I think what's great is finding that common connection with the game of golf.
Right.
But what I found in the video was that, sometimes you just need somebody to talk to you.
Right.
And just hanging out afterward around a fire, having a drink, smoking a cigar, and just feeling that camaraderie again. I think that helps them. How much does that help them recover or kind of help this with this transition? Obviously, golf does a big part of that, but I think just the whole experience of being able to just share time with your comrade that maybe somebody you didn't serve with, but you have a common story.
Yeah, their goal is if they can help one guy, right? Like obviously we bring in 6 at a time for those events, but that's been really their passion from the beginning is if we can just help one person, we can save one life. And they're not just saying it, they're doing it. And I'm seeing it. And again, I've been a part of it from the beginning to see how it's evolved. It's been really incredible. They just created a one-day outreach program where we're traveling across the country to different soft hubs to be able to introduce the game of golf to some of these guys. Some of them already play, so we're trying to level up their performance and make it fun for them. But what happens at those events is that we get those 6 guys. We start with a group warm-up that's hilarious. They look at me like, what are you going to do for me? I'm like, just wait. So we'll do a group warm-up. We start in that ice-breaking, kind of scenario. Some of these guys know each other, some of them don't. But throughout the day, you watch as they go through group instruction, and then they get one-on-one time with me and Chip Sosick. He's an instructor that we travel with as well. But we get one-on-one time with them, and then they start to talk about their experiences or some of the guys they might know through their experiences. And then from there, we'll break it up into teams and we'll play around scramble format, and just to watch them smile, laugh, be honest with one another, share about some of their struggles. And then at the end of the night, we do a really nice dinner at the whatever resort we were playing at. So we did Evermore a few weeks ago in Orlando, and then we were out at Tucson National a few weeks ago in Arizona. But they'll host a dinner there, and that is really neat to be a part of and kind of sit back where I can sit with Chip and him and I just kind of talk about our day and what we worked with the guys, but just kind of peeking over and listening to the conversations and watching the energy change throughout the day is truly amazing. And it creates that team room setting again. So you can just see the healing throughout the events, and I'm really proud of what they're doing. You can really see the heart behind it, and then to be able to be privileged and witness it is really, really neat. So I'm excited to see where they go. They've got big plans, and their heart is there. So happy to support them through it.
Well, very inspirational. If there's a veteran watching this that loves the game of golf and wants to get involved with Better Back Nine, how do they do that?
Yeah, find them on LinkedIn. Look them up on betterback9.org. Obviously, they're always looking for partnerships as well. So if this is something that's touched you and you want to be involved, would encourage you to be a part of it. As someone who is, it's awesome. I cannot wait to see what they do. And I've already seen lives change because of it. So really, really proud of what they're after and happy to help them in any way I can. You
talk about your neck injury. Let's go back in time a little bit, reminisce a little bit. So we were talking before the show, you were a majorette at Alabama.
Yeah, Roll Tide.
And so talk about that. We were talking about being in the SEC. I mean, you were at a time in Alabama where it's like, couldn't have been a better time. Talk about your experience at Alabama.
Yeah. So like I said, it was actually a lower back injury. I injured myself when I was 14. I was a pretty competitive baton twirler. I hate talking about myself. But I was, pretty competitive, and I was on the upward trajectory. I had a hard year in 2014. I actually grew up with a disabled sister, which led me into the holistic side of healthcare, but she passed that year. And I think I just really dove deep into my sport. It became my outlet, kind of like with Better Back Nine, golf becoming an outlet for them, and just overdid it and had a bilateral pars interarticularis fracture. So basically the part of the spine that's super stable in the lower back, I fractured both sides and it became unstable. So when I became 17, they finally did surgery on me. And from there, I thought my career was over. I wasn't gonna be able to tumble anymore, but we ended up moving to Alabama my senior year, which became a blessing in disguise. It sounds like absolute hell on earth for a teenager to move your senior year, but it really became a great healing experience for me, and also kind of led me to where I'm at now. So I had a few classes, and then I would go home, I would work out, I'd go train for a few hours, I'd go run through my routines, then I was able to try out at the university, and within a year of my back surgery was able to compete at the college level and make the team, which was a huge honor for baton twirling. It is probably one of the most prestigious, if not the most prestigious team to be a part of. And then again, back in 2015, I was there for 3 years, so 15 to 18. I was privileged to perform in 2 SEC championships and 3 national championships. I didn't know what it was like to not go to a national championship during a year, during a football season. So it was quite a time to be there. And one of my favorite stories, I actually had to ask Nick Saban to move one time because I was more scared of my coach than him. I was like, Coach, that's my spot.
I was going to ask you, do you have any encounters with the GOAT, Coach Saban?
Yeah. One time he was standing in front of me at one of our performances during homecoming. One thing about Coach Saban, he was always really involved throughout campus, and he was really adamant about making sure he thanked people that were a part of his program and a part of his process. So he was at the homecoming bonfire, and he stood right in front of me, and he just turned to me. He said, "How's the band doing?" I said, "We're good, Coach." And then just like shaking.
That's awesome.
But he's a big golfer himself. So I kind of talked to him about that for a few minutes, and then, on he went, made his speech, and that was it. But it was really cool to be next to him. And, I've listened to so many of his press conferences. He's got a lot of great one-liners, and now listening to him on College Game Day has been really fun. But yeah, it was a time to be alive, witnessing Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts, and now seeing Jalen in the Super Bowl. So it was really, really a cool time to be not only at Alabama, but SEC football in general.
Well, see, you left, and then Coach Saban left, and now Alabama's like,
it's all my fault.
They're only winning 10 games now. No national championship, so it's all your fault.
I'm gonna have to become a basketball fan moving here.
Yeah, the basketball team's doing well. Hopefully, Coach Oates stays a little bit longer because they're going to be after him. I think they need a coach at Carolina. Hubert, I hear, is kind of Melissa can hear me in the other room. She's a Carolina person, so but we got to do Carolina thing going on here. But talk about your golf game. We talk about golf this podcast.
Yeah.
Talk about you and your husband love to play. How's your game?
Mine's in its growth era. But I really only picked up a club just a few years ago. When I went out to TPI, I was like, that's it. I've got to be able to play.
Yeah.
So, I'm starting to play a little bit more. I've got some goals. I'd love to maybe start playing in some tournaments in a few years. I think it's going to take me there to, some time to get there, but I'm pretty serious about it. I do a lot in the gym to work on it. And last summer I was walking 9 every day in the heat of the day for conditioning because I knew I was going to For the Ladies. And at that time I wanted to shoot, under 100 a little bit more regularly. But now my goal is to break 90 this year. And my husband's a really good player. He grew up pretty competitively. So I think he played number 10 a few weeks ago, and I think he shot 2 under. He was privileged.
What?
Yeah, I believe it was 2 under.
Oh my
Sorry,
gosh.
honey, if I said that wrong. But that or he broke even. But he was privileged to walk with one of the Pinehurst caddies, so he was able to who played with him. So
it's a pretty rigorous walk too. If you haven't played number 10, a lot of elevation change. Unlike any other course in the Pinehurst area, but to shoot 2 under on that big Tom Doak course, that's impressive.
Yeah, so he's a pretty good player, and he just plays leisurely now.
I was going to say I'd love to play with your husband sometime, but I don't know, man. He's too good. He's too good for me.
You got to get him on a good day, but I think he just had a really fun day. He came home with the biggest smile on his face, but it's such a cool course from what I've heard. So
it's incredible.
Glad he got the chance to be able to play it. But yeah, he had quite the childhood growing up in Jupiter. He was a student at a local school, a private school there, and had a couple of the PGA pros at the time that their kids were there. So, got to be around like Jesper Parnevik, and now some of the guys that he played against growing up are on tour, and that's just been really, really cool for him to see. So yeah, it's been fun. My goal is to get more competitive with it. I think being a college athlete, I've kind of got that grit in me, and I think I can't just go pick up my batons and go twirl in public. I'd look like I'm in the flippin' circus. So I got to pick up a new sport. So that's been kind of my goal.
Well, Abby Leventhal, so with For the Ladies, so you go to some of their clinics and events they do around the country. She does a great job. And Donna Andrews, over at Pine Needles, she's a heck of an instructor as well. So plenty of help and assistance when it comes to the game of golf here. I know you and your husband just moved here a couple of years ago. I always like to ask this, especially people that just moved here. What are your favorite places? Like what maybe your top 3 favorite restaurants or places to go hang for when you got some time? You've got so much going on. When do you have time? But I'll ask anyway.
One of our favorite places, it's almost embarrassing when we walk into Lisi's. They're like, hey, Savannah and Grayson, how are you? Would you like a table for 2? We're like, yep, we'll be right back. We'll go down to the Village Wine Shop and share a glass of wine or 2, and then go back and have dinner at Lisi's. We really we love them. Or Chef Nick, he's been good to us, so we love them. We'd love to see. They just did a huge renovation there. If you haven't been, it had been a few weeks because I had been on the road a lot, but we finally got to go back and have dinner actually last weekend, and we were amazed at the renovations they've done there.
And Augie's a cool hangout too.
Augie's is super cool. And then we love Ashton's downtown. We always book the bar room when it comes to, because you have to go on open table, but it's just such a cool, cozy environment. One thing about me, I love quality time. I love to be able to just talk. And so that's a really good place for us to just hang and either grab a really good burger. I personally love the duck there. And they bring in some good seafood. And then actually with Better Back 9, we had an event with them at Elliott's and tried one of their new seafood towers. Clearly I'm a foodie. But that was really good. Yeah. And being from Florida, I'm a little picky with my seafood. It's got to be good. But they bring in some of the best. So we're lucky to have some really great restaurants around town. And I love that it's slower paced here.
Sure.
Pinehurst brings you in and it makes you want to stay here. So I love that about our restaurants around town. It's not really rushed and we're trying to enjoy the experience, but it's cool to kind of sit around and see people, all the tourists fall in love with our town and take their time as well.
Well, I got to ask this. I mean, you mentioned some great restaurants, Lisi, Elliott's, Ashton's, top notch, obviously. But man, we're in North Carolina now. Come on, you got to have some barbecue. Where do you go for barbecue?
When we get a hankering for some barbecue, we go over to Pinehurst Brewery, of course. Yeah. We've talked about that. We want to kind of branch out and find some new local mom and pop's barbecue if we can. But that's been kind of our go-to. We're still new. We gotta. If anyone has some recommendations, please feel free to send them my way. But yeah, you can find us there probably every couple weeks, just grabbing a little pulled pork sandwich or something.
We can can find you there. Where can we find your business, the Movement Foundry?
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
We're on Pinehurst Avenue, so we're about 7 minutes from downtown Southern Pines, 7 minutes from downtown Pinehurst, the village down there. So we're locally here. If you want to find us online, we're at themovementfoundry.com. If you want to come hang out with us on social media, I love creating content and sharing a little bit about what we do. You can find us at Movement Foundry on Instagram. And then personally, I share a lot about my travels and my experiences with like Better Back Nine or like down when I was at the PGA show.
Yeah.
So if you want to follow me there, it's Savannah Z Gardner on Instagram. So yeah, that's where you find us.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Savannah Gardner, we appreciate your time. Continued success. Thank you for enhancing the home of American golf and our golf community. It's a growing destination, as you know. It's a special place.
It really is.
With the USGA, US Opens, Pinehurst Resort, and everything going on. Thank you for joining this community and being part of it.
Well, thank you for having me. One thing I've learned about Moore County is if you love it, it'll love you right back. So really happy to put some roots down and be here, and excited to see where in 10 years or 20 years where all this leads. But what a cool time to be a part of the game of golf, and what a cool place to be in that era. So excited to see how Pinehurst develops and the Aberdeen and Southern Pines area is growing. And thank you for what you guys do for this community and pour into all of us, because that's really what it's all about, is all of us working together to not only provide our locals with a great experience, but those who come to see the home of golf and breathe it and be in it. So thank you all for what you do. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Well, thank you. And roll tide.
Roll Tide.
Come on, give me a good one. Roll Tide.
Well, you got to do it right. It's going to be a Roll Tide. Roll.
There we go. And welcome to Paradise of the Pines. In this episode, we have Dr. Savannah Gardner. Dr. Savannah Gardner, you just moved here from Pinehurst not too long ago. Welcome to Paradise of the Pines.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's truly an honor. Again, being kind of new here and then being able to communicate with y'all and share what I do and what I love. I'm truly honored to sit here and be a part of it.
One of our colleagues met you at a golf networking event in Aberdeen.